Wine Wednesday, Canadian wine lovers. Join us in a second here to learn about the big rosé marathon we did this last weekend, our upcoming trip to Niagara, and a recap of all the amazing 13th Street wines available. Woo! Happy Wine Wednesday!
Woohoo! Happy Wine Wednesday!
Happy Wine Wednesday.
Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, welcome. It is 5:08 Pacific time. Welcome to another edition of Wine Wednesday. Listen, today, this is loaded. Packed wall to wall. There's so much stuff to talk about. Listen, we have one of our favorite wineries in Canada that we have in feature this week. Stellar lineup to talk about, okay, from 94 points all the way to value. So we have lots of talk to talk about. Also, what did we do over the weekend? Oh, guess what? We tasted a few rosés. Yeah, a few rosés here and there. Something like 67 rosés. Yeah, that's what we've done in one day. Sunday, that was our rosé marathon. So we'll do a recap of the rosé marathon, plus also some other crazy good wine that we've tasted all over last week. And also, I think that we need to, well, we want to, but we need to talk about the Pan-Canadian Masterclass tasting that we're doing in Niagara, August 18, and the Suan staff members reunion party on August 19. So that's mean that this girl and this guy are going to be hopping on the plane and going to party with you guys in Ontario in August. So is it enough? I think we need a 5-hour Wine Wednesday to talk about all of that.
Wow, it's so exciting. You know, it's funny. Up until like 4:59, like 10 minutes ago, I was texting with a few of our members because we might be sharing an Airbnb together. It looks freaking awesome. Looks really good. It's got ensuite bathrooms for every bedroom, which is like, when you talk Airbnb, you know, it's one thing to share.
Not sure what to do with that wine,
but it's another to share a bedroom. And then what happened is, of course, we were about to go live, and a fat, big, ugly fly went right into Carl's rosé. That's what you have open, right? A rosé there. So we have some rosés that did not get here in time for the marathon we did live on Sunday. Thank goodness, because we tasted 57. Okay, so it's probably good for one day. But a few
but this guy here, Kevin Panagatka, one of the really, really, really good winemaker in Niagara. A guy who likes to play with single vineyard, very, very, very vineyard specific, has 2 rosés on his portfolio this year, a Cab Franc and a Pinot Noir. So I got both here. I extracted that big, fat, stupid fly out of that glass. And yeah, that
just went right in, like it knew
that stupid beaver went right in there. Even before I tasted it for the first time, bastard. So anyway,
before you did.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're going to taste these 2 live. And I want to recap that marathon because I already posted about the top 10. Obviously, a stellar lineup. But what I want to put, what I would like really put the emphasis on tonight, it's the second tier. Because right below the top 10, it was a bunch of freaking amazing rosés in there. And I want to highlight a few of them because I truly believe that it's worth talking about. I don't want the attention to stop at number 10 because I will say between number 10 and number 17, the difference, the gap is so narrow These like wine number 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to 17. The gap is so narrow. These wines are so close from each other. That is really, 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 it wouldn't be fair to stop there and stop talking about it. So I want to talk about that. But before that, Mira, I see your smile. It seems like you're having a ton of fun there.
No, I'm just excited that we booked our place for Niagara. It just looks really good. Looks really good. The lady that owns it is texting me back, and she says, "I'm so excited because she's a member."
Is it Jordan? Like, was the name of it's Jordan Vacation Property or something like that?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so.
We just got a new follow. Just got a new follower on Facebook on Instagram. So.
Maybe it is them. Yeah.
Yeah.
She says they're longtime members at 13th Street. So it's kind of ironic that we're featuring 13th Street this week.
That is just too funny. Absolutely too funny. But it's a great segue here. So we are flying to Niagara. The person who are renting us a massive, amazing Airbnb, like 6 minutes to Suan, is a longtime member to 13th Street. I would freaking love it because
that's so cool.
The first winery that Carl's Wine Club ever featured was 13th Street. The very first Ontario winery that we featured was 13th Street. And let me just talk about that connection a little bit. In Calgary, I owned a consulting company for 4 or 5 years, and one of our biggest partners, his name is David Walker. Really cool fucking dude. I love that guy a lot. Like really, really. He started his career in Ontario. Really well connected in international wine. Worked for a very predominant Italian wineries for a very long time, but also import wine from for collectors across the country. Anyway, long story short, David's a very good friend with the people, and especially Jean-Pierre Collat, the winemaker at 13th Street. So David connected me with the team at 13th Street even before we started Carl's Wine Club, and it became the first winery that we ever featured. So really cool. We fell in love with what they do right out of the gate. Jean-Pierre, the winemaker, longtime winemaker in Burgundy. Okay, the cream of the crop of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir in the world. Jean-Pierre was a winemaker. He started his career in Chablis, spent years and years in Chablis, making some of the top Chardonnays. And one of his dreams was to make wines in the Southern Hemisphere, Argentina and Chile, because he thought it was really sexy. Well, you know what? He ended up in Niagara. But the cool part of it, and he didn't believe in that terroir. After he got there, he realized how much potential there was before in the late 90s, early 2000. He's stuck there, and he's still there at the very moment because the potential of that terroir, the incredible terroir that we have in Niagara, allows him to do a couple things. First, world-class sparkling wine. And if you ask me who's the best sparkling producer in the country, there's not 10 names who came up to my mind. There's not. There's a very few. And Jean-Pierre Collat comes at the very, very top. To me, he's one of the most talented sparkling producer in the whole freaking country. And what he does, everything's traditional method. And this week, we have 2 of his sparkling. First, his cream of the crop is Grand Cuvée. This is the crown jewel of 13th Street. We have the 2013 Grand Cuvée. So recently disgorged, 2013, please, yes. We tasted it over the weekend last week, Mira and I. The creaminess, the depth, and the complexity in that wine. It's like sex in the mouth. It's not, oh, shoot. I was not supposed to say that. Jesus Christ.
It was really, really good.
Marcel, I hope your kids are not listening again this week. They will think bad thing about me. But oh my God, yeah, 2013 Grand Cuvée is something else. Wine Line, who are known as one of the top critics in the whole country, gave that one. Marcel, there you go. He's here. uh, Wine Line gave the Grand Cuvée 94 points. So I went with the 93. I think, but yeah, really, really, really worth it. One of a very special wine that we feature in a couple of years. So that wine is in the pack. But also at the after price, there's the where is it? Here. It was my top sparkling of the Rosé Day, that 13th Street non-vintage Cuvée Rosé, 60% Pinot Noir, 40% Chardonnay. Oh my God, for $30, that sparkling is to die for. 92 points, because when you put in the equation that it's half the price of the Grand Cuvée, obviously not that crazy complexity, not that suave, textural, and all of these great quality that you can find in a very well aged. Listen, 60 months on lease for the Grand Cuvée. 60 months. We talk about 5 years on lease. So yeah, obviously, like the texture and the complexity is something else. But that Cuvée Rosé, wow, an absolute beauty for $30. There you go. So now, in terms of the other wines in the pack, we have the June Rieslings, the brand new vintage. We have one of the wine that absolutely stood out to me when I taste them all right side by side. There was two of the red that actually really stood out to me. The Cab Merlot 2020, that's the end of the vintage, okay? Last time we tasted the Cab Merlot on 13th Street, it was from the previous vintage, 2019 vintage. We got the Cab Merlot 2020. Obviously, there's not a whole lot left of these 2020. And this one and the Gamay, the new 2021 Gamay. I was doing some research on it this week, and I just realized that every year, the Ontario government, they have a little wine contest when they do the Lieutenant Governor Award for wine in Ontario. It's very different. That's what we do here in BC. They award this year, 2023, and it happened 2 weeks ago, the day of my birthday on June 27. They awarded 9 award of excellence for wine in 2023, and one of these 9 wines is the 2021 13th Street Gamay. Yeah, just released by the winery. We're one of the first to offer that wine to the general public, so it's really exciting. I gave it a 91, or maybe a 91 plus or a 92, but a fantastic Gamay. Really fresh, really typical, classic flavors. So yeah, if you want to stock up on a really good barbecue wine at $19.95, holy geez, that 2021 Gamay is really worth a try. I'm telling you. So yeah, so this is a little recap of our 13th Street feature of this week. Great scores. Great shipping rate. This is such a solid winery. This is an amazing winery. Oh, I forgot the rock star of the pack.
Oh yeah,
the Vin Gris Gamay 2022.
Yeah.
I tasted 57 rosés last week, over the weekend. The 2022 13th Street Vin Gris Gamay finished second. The second best rosé of the whole lineup. Listen, Daniel Bonterin, congratulations. 7 Direction, the rosé master did it again. I'm sorry, and it wasn't not only me. I have 4 tasters behind me when I was on the screen, and unanimously, everybody came up with Tractor and Vines 2022 from 7 Direction Pinot Noir Rosé. It was at 93 plus points, but second, and also unanimous. Also, that's very, very important. All of the tasters behind the screen also voted 13th Street Vin Gris of Gamay as second. Really, Really good gamay. Listen, $24.95 tax in. This is one of the wine of the summer. Absolutely. Holy moly. And if you don't like gamay for a specific reason, because maybe the little earthiness or the meatiness of a gamay doesn't sit well for you, forget about that. That vague gris of gamay, it's all about fruit. It's raspberry. It's freshly picked raspberry. It's watermelon. It's cantaloupe. It's white peach with the splash of cherry. But you know that golden cherry, the one who freaking cost a fortune? Yeah, that's kind of cherry. So yeah, that and that, yeah, that the Rainier cherry. Yeah, that Vegri rosé, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, top 10. Just a little.
I have to ask you though, like Vangri.
Yeah.
Why do they call it Vangri? Just because of the way that it's pressed, or what?
Well, just because they take the free run juice.
Okay.
So they let the gamay grape sit right there on top of each other, and at some point the grapes underneath start to crack. So while the grapes start to crack, the wines, the juice start trickling down, and the very bottom that comes out white.
Yes.
And for just at the very end, they give it a little press. And that free run juice, that's what you take. It's the top of the cuvee, and you take that, put that in the stainless stick there. So that's the vin gris.
So basically, it's like a white Merlot, or like because
if you may, it's very similar. They're very like.
I mean, I guess they make it with Pinot Noir too. Like, it's the same. Pinot Noir is a red grape, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a great way to differentiate themselves from a marketing standpoint, to be honest with you. There's a very specific way of make the vin gris, but some of the rosés are made exactly the same way. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but absolutely fantastic wine.
Yeah, like that with the salmon we had on Sunday after the live.
That was incredible. So just to recap, if I do both recap between the Rosé Marathon and the 13th Street, 13th Street had their 2 wines in the top 6. Just put that in perspective, okay?
It's a fantastic
2 wines in the number 2 and number 6 out of 60 wines. I mean, how impressive is that?
Very. And who is it that was saying?
That's pretty cool. So
I think
this lineup of 13th Street really summer oriented, and great shipping rate. So get on it if you want to stock up on some of the most incredible summer wine. Get at it.
Amazing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just started talking like twice, and you kept going.
No, you disappeared.
Really?
Yeah. You were just black on my screen. You were black, and it was spinning. You weren't there, so I was just talking.
Weird. Okay. Yeah. I was just going to say, our member, I think it was John Lewis, that said he still remembers when the owners of 13th Street would sell out of a garage, and they'd have like snacks for people that came by. And how far they've come in 25 years is pretty impressive.
Well, you mean like the progression of the wine business of the Ontario, the Niagara wine industry, right? Like where we're at today compared, think 13th Street. You go there now, they have an incredible restaurant on the lawn. They have the best bakery in Niagara. If it's not the best bakery, it's one of the top. They definitely make the best butter tart in the freaking in the world, on the whole planet, in the whole universe, in the whole freaking spatial. Okay, there's no one on this freaking universe who make butter tart like 13th Street.
When we came back from Niagara, Carl had withdrawal of the 13th.
3 days after I arrived, I had like literally withdrawal. I was shaking. I was sweating. I was like, I think
trying
like
to find them here, but they're not the same. They're not.
I went on the banner. I went like every place I could. I was buying butter tart everywhere, and every night I had to buy them, throwing them all out. Yeah, just an amazing. Oh, we have John Coomber here, just confirming with John Lewis.
John, I knew it was a John. Okay. The lineup, 6-foot tables with snacks. You have to go early in the morning on their release events. So much fun. That is so cool. And that's how it should be. Like when new wine comes out, we should totally celebrate it. Like it's like a little celebrity every time, right?
Oh, that's good. I'm just tasting Kevin Panagapka's wine here. 2027 cellar. This one is the Pinot Noir. This is 20 Mile Bench BQA. This is bright. This is Mira. You have a glass behind you. Tell me what you think.
Oh my God. Okay, let's see. So
don't you really think that I would?
Is this darker one as you're talking about?
No, for after. Let's start with the Pinot Noir.
So wait a second. So this is the Pinot Noir.
No.
Oh, you mean
that's a Cap Franc rose. These are two rosés.
Oh, because it's so dark. That second.
Yeah, it is. So I will have some question. I don't know what's the. It's maybe a press one.
Yeah, maybe.
From the Cap Franc. I don't know what's Kevin is a real geek, right? He makes some really geeky stuff sometimes. So I haven't have time, to be honest. I went to the post office. I ran back home, put that in the fridge, and I had so much stuff to do. I did not read anything about these two wines. So when I look at that, listen, like, okay, that Pinot Noir, it's a real, like, really classic, for sure. Classic press method with little skin contact. Beautiful pink peach color. I love that. Bright, fresh, very fragrant, beautiful tartness on the finish. I love that Pinot Noir. Really, like, it's very, very fresh. The acid is lip smacking. Beautiful minerality too. So, but when I get to this is Cap Franc Rosé. So, and the nose is geeky as heck.
I gotta say, I really love the Pinot Noir.
Yeah, absolutely. This would have been worthy of a top 10, like, or around the top 10 score.
Well, it's not too late. I mean, we haven't published the actual written report. This is the nerdiest thing I think we've done so far, Carl, to write like a big written report. Yeah, that Pinot Noir one is pretty spectacular.
So I believe that if you ask me, the Cap Franc, it's a bleed method. So they bled the tank from the, it's a bleed, but really fresh. Doesn't have the same grip, doesn't have the same snap on the finish. It's very Cap Franc, I would say. There's some red pepper jelly in there. There's let's say, like a cherry coulis. There's even a white pepper lingering at the end, a little bit of white chocolate too. So I will go with this is a more of a bleed method, Cap Franc, and this is the classic Pinot Noir press. Geez, I like that Pinot Noir. Really food friendly, I would say. This has such a bright acid. That Pinot Noir, an absolute stellar. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Daryl. Absolutely, Daryl. So just to Daryl, it's a good point. Pinot Noir for the win. So let's backtrack to our rosé marathon. Now that we have Mira, can you put please the 13th Street link in the comment box? Because if anyone is excited about what I talk about, the vin gris, or the Grand Cuvée, or the Cuvée Rosé, or the new Gamay Award of Excellence, available in the pack. Maybe the link is right there, so available until the end of the week.
But yeah, good point, Daryl. So varietals and rosé, we learned a few things, didn't we?
You know, we always learn. We always learn. Some vintage are more. Hey.
That's of course the point of tasting so many wines. It's an experiment. It's a learning exercise.
Absolutely. Like one of our members, very well appreciated member that I won't name. He likes to come on wine trips, and he says he's reading wine tasting is like reading books
in a library. Yes.
Yeah, every time that he tastes a wine, it's like reading a full book, and he can put it back on the shelf after he's done and read another one. So yeah, cheers to you, Dimitri. Missing you, my friend here. But yeah, so varietals versus vintage versus technique. There's so many aspects. There's so many different aspects of winemaking and Mother Nature here with the production of rosés. But I think that Daryl is touching a point here. The grape varietals is one of the key component. Yeah, I know thunder, right?
Yeah, there's a big storm here too.
Yeah,
Ricky's saying tornado
thunder is absolutely nuts around here.
In Ontario.
So yeah, grape varietal, something that I've learned through the years. I ended up, like, to me personally, the press method is my very favorite part, my very favorite technique for rosé. Let's talk about still rosé, right? Because more sparkling rosé is a complete different beast on its own. In terms of varietals, a little bit like Daryl, there's a few varietals that I clearly more appreciate when it's time for rosé. Pinot Noir is at the very top of that list. Listen, if we look at our top 10, is a great representation of Pinot Noir on the top 10. And some of my very favorite wines, especially on the second tiers. My second tiers, it's just filled with Pinot Noir rosé. So I'll get back to that after. But yeah, Pinot Noir, Cab Franc, Syrah are some of my three favorite kind of grapes to produce rosé. But the thing now, with the price of Syrah on the market, it's hard to make it viable financially. Not very worth it to make Syrah, to make rosés with Syrah, with the price of the ton of Syrah on the market right now. Pinot Noir is such it's an early ripener, but not only that, the skin is very thin. You can control the color much easier than the Cab Franc. The problem with Cab Franc is the color is so hard to manage. So yeah. So, but I like it. Yeah, but I'm thinking that we're having two different techniques here, so that kind of skew a little bit what you get. That's my take on that very example that we have here.
Yeah.
I like the nose though. The nose is really, really geeky on that one.
Yeah. And I really like the creaminess on the finish on that one.
You're right.
Say that again. Sorry.
You're right.
Sounded so good.
Once in a while, right?
Right.
So yeah. So if you look at the top 10, Mira, do you have the list anywhere close to so you can?
10?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get it. Give me like 10 seconds.
Oh, I can just spit it out. So we have tracked just if you have a picture maybe of one of my posts that you can put
Yeah.
on the screen. I don't know if it's possible, but anyway. So track. Okay, let's recap quickly. Track number one. Track my top rosé. Seven Direction, Tractor and Vines, Pinot Noir, with $28, 93 plus point. Number two, 13th Street. They are, top 10 is all 2022 vintage, by the way. So 13th Street, Vanity Gamay on number two, 24.95 for 92 plus points. Number three, one of a really surprising wine. I was blown away by that wine. It's the Hillside Estate from the Naramata Bench. They're below the road rosé, a blend of Pinot Noir, Viognier, Cab Sauv, and I believe a splash of Cab Franc. If I'm not mistaken, Mira, I'm sure that you can find that information for me. But the kicker in that wine, it's the 40% of oak ferment. So the wine is kind of round. It's kind of like, well, there's some oak influence in there. I'm usually a purist when it's in terms like I usually like my rosé really zippy, really precise and straightforward, filled with acidity. But that below the road was just so complex and so special. I absolutely loved that wine. A little bit more expensive, like you can expect, if there's that much of oak ferment in there, more expensive to produce. But yeah, that below the road, I give it a 92 points. It was absolutely phenomenal. It's my surprise of the day. Out of the 60 rosés, I did not expect anything from that wine and absolutely blew my socks off. So Hillside Estate from the Naramata Bench, Cathy Malone, well done. It was fantastic. So number three. Number four, I'm going back to Niagara.
I'll interrupt you though, because you asked. Okay, so you got the blend right. Merlot.
I got the blend right.
Cab Franc, but there's also a splash of Viognier.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. Viognier second.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's just a splash.
What's the price point?
It's 35 plus tax.
Yeah, so now we're talking about it. Yeah,
rosé. I am also surprised. So we were talking about varietals, okay, and Pinot Noir showing really well, Gamay showing really well. Merlot did not show that well, except with this one, with the Hillside one, because the Hillside one is Merlot dominant, I believe, and it showed gorgeously, but it's a blend. Right, so we were talking about how Merlot can be a little bit like rough for rosé.
And again, like for 2 years in a row, right? Last year, none of the Merlot even made it to the second tier or whatever. This year, kind of same thing. And I'm coming to a conclusion that this is not the best, that definitely not to my taste, to my flavor profile. Listen, there's some interesting stuff out there made with Merlot, but to me, rosé, there's that little heaviness, that little cook through that just, I don't know, and I don't see a good press Merlot. It's often more than often it's bleed Merlot than what I see. And so, yeah. Anyway, not my favorite varietal for rosés, that's for sure. So number four is Leaning Post. Leaning Post did a Pinot Gamay Riesling blend, and it surprised everyone around the table. I had expectation. I was expecting something good. Okay, last year the Pinot Noir rosé was fantastic, and I was expecting something good, and truly did not disappoint. So made it to my number four. To round up the number five, listen, it's one of my classic. It's right across the lake and like 5 minutes from the Hillside Winery, from the other side of the road. This is our RBC Winery of the Year, the Silva, the Cor de Rosa 2022. The earthiness, the roundness, the fruit explosion is just like explosive wine. And the bright acid just made a fantastic rosé this year. It was good last year, but so so much improved this year, and the new label is absolutely fantastic too. So
yes, the label looks awesome. It's like a Portuguese tile with pink in it. Rosa, Quarter Rosa, it's like Heart of Rosa. Rosa was the grandmother, right?
yeah,
Rosarino?
look at that.
Yes. Rosa was the grandmother, I think, of the family. And I have to say, I feel like we recently tasted another.
But
Like a
Mira,
Rosa.
we just bashed Merlot badly, right?
Yeah.
This is 70% Merlot.
Yeah. And the number 3 wine is part Merlot too. So I think it just needs a certain approach, maybe. Or
It probably needs some friends, right? It needs a party with friends. That's what I like try to say with Merlot. It needs a party with friends. So on its own, not so much. But if you blend it with someone else, with something else,
so
can be better.
Quarter Rosa is then 70 Merlot. Do you know what the rest is?
30 Pinot Noir.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So that round up the top 5. Number 6, we had the 13th Street Cuvée Rosé. So the first sparkling. Number 7, it was the Black Market Wine Company, the Cap Franc, the first Cap Franc on the lineup, the Omerta. I tasted the Black Market early on, like let's say in April, and I said at that very beginning, it was one of my favorite of the vintage. And when you look among that many, it was right up there. So I'm pretty happy with the prediction early in the spring. After the Black Market and Fruitville Ridge from 7 Direction and Black Market, I tasted them in the same flight because I was doing flight of 5 wines. And that Fruitville Ridge, 2 Cap Franc side by side, they were like, I was bouncing back and forth between the Black Market and the Fruitville Ridge, and they're 2 rated really closely. The Fruitville Ridge a little bit more pure, a little bit more really refined and pure, but the Black Market, I had so much length, and like they had 2 or 3 extra layer on the Black Market, that these 2 wines were like they really follow each other, all tasting long. So they made it to 7 and 8. Number 9, I believe that it was the second sparkling wine with the Vineland Estate 2021 Pinot Meunier Charmat method. I love that wine last year.
You memorize all this stuff. You're so freaking good with this stuff.
I choose these wine one by one. So the 2021 Charmat, I loved that wine last year. I tasted it the first time in the vineyard with the master, with the man, the myth, the legend, Brian Schmid. And here you go. Tasting this year and makes it into our top 10. If you look for something different, not weird, not geeky, something just different and delicious, that sparkling Pinot Meunier Rosé from Vineland Estate will blow your socks off. I'm telling you. And number 10, to round up the top 10, was a very small producer. Tiny micro producer from BC, from Okanagan Falls, who love to work with single clones, single varietals, single vineyard wine. Code Wine. So Shea Code at Code Wine with his 2022 Syrah Rosé. That's the top 10.
That's right, baby. Now, Mike has a good question. The Pinot Meunier Sparkling was 2022 or
2021. They haven't made a 2022 just yet.
Okay, that's a
it might be in production. And you know what? That's a good question that we can ask Brian Schmid himself when we see him, because we're probably going to hang out with him in a month. So,
because I think in your post it was 2022.
In the post,
what does it say on the bottle?
Oh, I'm sure. Like if it's a mistake, it's definitely a typo, because I'm sure 100% it's 2021.
Okay, because we have the bottle here. We can confirm, right?
You can confirm. I don't have the bottle up here. The bottle is somewhere downstairs among the other 40 dead bottles.
Yeah. We have a problem at our house. We don't throw out bottles of wine because there's too many that we need to like reference later. Like, oh, which vintage was that? What was the blend on it? What was the alcohol percentage? Mira, would that be the second time I'm right? Yes, John.
You know what, John? John.
Say it again, Carl.
You know what, Mira? I have to say you've been right twice, at least twice in the last hour.
Even the clock is right twice a day. So
You know what? Like, there's no way that I can argue with all of that, guys. If I'm sitting here in front of you, it's because she's right more than I am. That's for sure. So you know what? I'm just collecting points here for post show. You know what? There's life after that show, right, guys? So yes, Mira, sure, absolutely, honey.
But say it because you said it earlier. It sounded so good.
Well, I say it again. You're right, babe.
Yes.
You sure are. So now I want to spend 5 minutes here talking about the second tier of the wines, because just as I mentioned at the very, very beginning, the top 10 is fantastic. There's so much potential. But no, not potential. There's so much quality. There's so much like to discover in there. But there's also the second tier of these wines. They were so close, so narrow. These wines were so close from each other. And I want to start by highlighting a few of them, okay? And I'm going to start with Tightrope Pinot Noir. Well, Tightrope Rosé. It's a blend of Pinot Noir at 96% and 4% of Barbera. I did not pick that wine because it was funky or because it was cool. No, I went to the winery a couple weeks ago, and the the vigneron, the grower, the owner, Graham O'Rourke. So Graham poured me that wine, and I was like, holy crap. This wine, I think, will be worthy of a top 10 of our marathon. Just outside of the top 10, when I taste them all side by side, this wine is just so close of that top 10. I like the richness. I like the hint. Okay, don't ask me what Barbera brings to the table. It's still very nebulous to me. But to me, maybe a little bit of violet, maybe a little bit of not herbaceousness, but flower, and also maybe like a burst of raspberry. But geez, that wine was good.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. You're talking about the Barbera Rosé. I love
absolutely.
That one. Yeah.
And it's still good today.
He was saying that it throws people off. Like they entered it into some competitions and people were like, this one's weird. This one's weird. And they weren't sure if, what they thought about that.
But it definitely requires a little pause and thinking. Like definitely, like I had to think about it. I had to wrap my head and get into it. It's a little bit more of a cerebral type of wine.
Yeah, if you taste a lot of rosés, this one's going to be a little different. And you're like, do I like it different or weird different or, But
it's a little bit more cerebral. You need to think, definitely. The other one that I really want to mention, and it's completely at the opposite, it's the quintessential crowd pleaser. Absolutely the quintessential crowd pleaser. It's the Mount Boucherie, white label Mount Boucherie, new 2022. Yeah. This is candy in the mouth. When I say candy in the mouth, it's not about the sweetness, about how good and easygoing it is, and then like you can pound a bottle of that without even blinking, and after that you turn around and you're the happiest freaking person on the planet, and you really want to do some really fun thing. So
oh wow, okay.
So that's that Mount Boucherie. Okay. A blend of
Tell us how you really feel. Oh my god.
Listen, Next time that I come up with a bottle of Montboucherie Rosé White Label, if I give it to you,
You know what that
that's
means.
you know what that means. So, Montboucherie, interestingly, they have three main vineyard holding. Their home vineyard in West Kelowna, they have Okanagan Falls, where most of their original vines program comes from, and they also have the Lazy River vineyard in the Similkameen Valley. This rosé comes from their home vineyard in West Kelowna. It's Zweigel Pinot Noir, and I believe Gewürztraminer, if I am not wrong. But yeah, like I said, crowd pleaser all the way, but well made. Some of the other wines are higher in acid, so a little bit more geeky, a little bit more laser focused, a little bit more precise. This has just enough acidity to make it bright rosé, but not too much to make it complicated. Does that make sense?
Totally does. I love it. And they had another one, Les Cinq Cinq. It was the five.
The 5 Bordeaux grapes,
Yeah.
the 5 Bordeaux varietals,
And
a little bit more expensive. With it was, I think, Dominant, Merlot, Cap Sauv, Cap Franc, a splash of Petit Verdot, all of the 5 Bordeaux grapes made into a rosé. It was good. I enjoyed it, but not as much at this little. I had a little problem with the 5 Bordeaux grapes. In the sense that none of them made it to my second tiers. I would say there was more. These are more full body, not necessarily what I'm really looking forward to when I crack a bottle of rosé. So here, that crowd pleaser here from Montboucherie, just like, and on Wednesday here, it still shows the same freaking pleasant, fun. All of that fun stuff. So I still really, really, really like it tonight. Okay, so Montboucherie. After that, I want to showcase here Chain Reaction, one of a new play.
They're new, yeah.
They're a couple of years in. They have a small little vineyard on the Naramata bench. This is their Pinot Noir Rosé. I love the color. Everything was absolutely bang on when I opened that, from the right amount of acid, for the right amount of fruit, good enough depth, good enough complexity. This wine was just everything that I was expecting for a nice Pinot Noir rosé. So, little shout out here to Joel and Linda at Chain Reaction. They did a great job. I think they're only 2 or 3 years in. Fantastic job to make that list at a really early stage of your progression, you guys. So
very passionate people, and I love the biking thing. So if you guys like to ride bikes, okay, there is actually a trail in behind the Naramata bench here, across from where we are, near Penticton here, and you can take this incredible trail through, I think it's 18 trestle bridges, waterfalls, the whole thing. And then ride along to 30 wineries. And the wineries have kind of a secret back door for the bikers. And you can get off your bike and walk down to the winery and have a little snack, have a little wine tasting, get back on your bike. So, little known secret if you like to bike. Anyway, they went all in, those guys, with Chain Reaction. They have labels with bikers.
Oh yeah, Chain Reaction. Well, this is their passion, right? They have all of their labels are about biking, and because they're anyway.
The next one there is also on the Naramata bench. You can bike to it, and ironically, we drive by it every single freaking time we go to the bench, and we've never stopped there. But
it's a big name though, and also they're really well known. They're originally from France. They're from the wine family in France. In France. These are Roche Vineyard and Winery, Roche Vigneron. They are involved, very heavily involved with they make some wines for other, they consult for other wineries. They are very, very solid by reputation, but I've never tasted anything before. And that their rosé, it's a rosé of Zweigel. So Zweigel, it's a great varietal, very popular in Austria. So Eastern European, but bright, beautiful. I would say, uh, is it? Can I compare Zweigel to Gamay? Maybe a little bit, kind of. But this Zweigel Rosé absolutely stood out during that tasting. Let's see what it tastes today. Yeah, it still showcase great. I like the brightness of that Zweigel. Only 12% alcohol, really, really restrained, precise, beautiful finish. I like when my rosé finished with a little snap, a little tartness, a little like citrus peel. And this one give that to me perfectly. And
And I gotta say, this is pretty funny. We're tasting these rosés every day since we opened them Sunday, and it's Wednesday. Who does that?
I know, right? I know.
Many of
I
them
forgot.
Many of them held up, which is crazy. Like especially
I
the
forgot.
hillside one.
I'm not supposed to show the label, but I can show the name.
Yes, this
So
one has not been released. The first ever that we're aware of, Montepulciano Rosé in Canada.
Well, first and foremost, there's only one guy, only one place, only one plot of land, only one person who grows Montepulciano in Canada. So his name is Sal D'Angelo, a veteran of the Canadian wine industry. He's an Ontario native, but I would say no, that's not true. He is a Montepulciano native. So he's Italian, immigrated to Canada early, and after that, started in the wine industry. He made a boatload of wine in Ontario until he said, "Fuck that! I'm sick and tired of the LCBO charging so much tax. I'm moving to BC. I'm sick of that bullshit." That's his story, right? And I'm sure he will not, absolutely not denied what I'm saying, okay? I've heard it too many times. And moved to BC, found a beautiful plot of land on the Naramata bench, and he said, guess what? I'm going to show everyone that we can grow everything on the bench. He's one of the guys who've been pounding the table for more than a decade and saying that the Naramata bench can grow everything. But guess what? He grows Petit Verdot. He grows Tempranillo. He grows Cab Sauv. He grows everything on the bench. Is 15 acres of land on the bench, right on the cliff, facing the lake. He grows them all. And a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, he said, I'm going to grow Montepulciano. People said, what? He said, I'm going to grow Montepulciano because that's where I'm from and that's what I want to grow. And I'm telling you, we can grow everything here on the bench. Montepulciano will grow well. That's the block of Montepulciano. He just planted a second block closer to the winery. But this block is the first block by the lake. Okay, that's the fruit that I'm like right at fruit set. It was taken on Sunday morning. Okay, and what I have here, this is the first ever rosé of Montepulciano, made in Canada, BC, VQA, Naramata bench. Take that, people. Take that, people. This is a true fucking story, and Sal D'Angelo is right behind that story, and I love it. And guess what? The wine is freaking delicious. Okay?
I agree. I had it the other day. I loved it.
The nose is still super pleasant. And now guess what? There's Montepulciano Red sitting in tank right now.
That's crazy. Carl was a little freaked out by being the first to have access to this. We were like, well, we don't want to be the first to have access and then blow it out of proportion. Like, oh my God, it's so good, but it is so good.
And it's still 3 days later. There's a spice on that Montepulciano. Really, really good. It's full of fruit, ripe raspberry, a little bit of strawberry. I would say another, like, there's a splash of peach in there as well. Bright acid. I love that. The alcohol is fairly well maintained on that. I would say probably high 12, low 13. Just my assumption here. So yeah, Montepulciano Rosé. And so yeah, so that was also one more wine that I thought was pretty interesting. Not necessarily one of the best, but one of the very interesting one, and it was delicious. I enjoyed it as well. Is Fairview Cellar. Fairview Cellar was a blend of Merlot, Pinot Noir, and what is the Jeez, I forgot about it. I totally forgot about what's the third kind of grape. It's in my email. I might even been the Zweigel. No, it's not the Zweigel. Anyway, brought something to the table that was fairly interesting. So Fairview Cellar Rosé, I enjoyed it a lot. Maybe at the bottom of my second tier, Lunescence. That's the one that I didn't want to forget. Lunescence is right in the middle of my my second tier here. 90 point plus. Their Blanc de Noir this year. Touch of oak. There's, I believe, Pinot Noir, Syrah, and maybe a splash of Gamay in there, if I remember correctly. But it was round. It was mouth-filled. The texture was fantastic. Nice red berries, but also great acid. That Lunescence Blanc de Noir was also worth mentioning, definitely. Valley Common has produced a good Gamay of Rosé, the 2022. Great improvement from the 2021 Merlot Rosé. Also produced a fairly good Merlot, fairly good sparkling Rosé. We're going to see Valley Common later on during the fall. It's a new player, a new guy, and they operate out of the Wine Village, the District Wine Village in Oliver here, one of our new project in BC. So here we go. So that's the little recap of the Rosé Marathon, a little recap of our 13th Street. So before we shut that down for the day, Mira, I think we need to talk about August 18 and August 19.
Absolutely.
The floor is yours.
Floor is mine. So
talk about the parties, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk. Do you want me to start with the wineries, with the wines, and after that you go with accommodation? How do you want to do that?
Yeah, okay. So we have two events planned in Niagara, August 18th and 19th. It's a Friday night, a Saturday night. Some members are coming in just for the Friday. Some are just for the Saturday. Some are both. Both is awesome. So Friday night, we've got the Pan-Canadian Masterclass, which is the first time we've ever done something like this. And as far as we can tell, it's the first time anyone's ever really done something like this. Oh, that's the wrong one. Where's the image for it? But anyways, the Pan-Canadian Masterclass is all about tasting 10 different wines from coast to coast and telling the stories, like everything we've learned in the last 3 years, only tasting Canadian wines, and lots of them, like lots, you know us, lots, thousands. So it's telling this story from coast to coast, and the opportunity to taste from coast to coast is pretty rare. Like even just tasting BC wine in Ontario is rare. So that's what's happening the 18th. The 19th, we're doing our members reunion at Siouan Staff Estate Winery. Things should be coming out to you in the next day as far as the exact program. But that Saturday, we're going to get food together, and then Sue-Ann's wines, and showcase Sue-Ann and why members voted that winery #1 in Ontario for last year. So that's what's happening August 18th and 19th. Accommodations, I'll tell you about in a second because I'm very excited about some of that stuff too. But what are the 10 wines or wineries, shall we say, that have been confirmed for the 18th of August?
So it's not going to be the regular tasting where we sit down in this sit-down guided tasting. That's why
Not boring.
Not boring. That's going to be a heck of an evening because we're going to do it like masterclass style, but like take the pretentiousness and the whole student or the whole, I don't know, school style of masterclass. Take that out of the equation. It's going to be your Carl Boucher emceeing that in collaboration with Marcel Morgenstern, my pal, my good friend from Niagara. We're gonna MC that masterclass style of a tasting because we're saying masterclass in the sense that we're gonna have 5. So far, we have 5, and we're not expecting more unless we have surprises. But 5 of the 10 winemakers or winery owners are going to be on site. Okay, they're going to be on site with us, telling their stories, telling the stories behind their family, behind their winery, behind the very specific wine that we're tasting. So it's not all about the wines. It's more about the Canadian story. It's all about the diversity. It's more about what we have to offer as a country, complementary. It's not about which one of these wines are the best. It's not about that. It's not about to see who's the star of the night. It's not about that. It's about what we have to offer as a group, as a Canadian identity, in terms of how all of these wines complement each other. So let's talk about the lineup from east to west. Okay, we're not going to taste. I will still have to determine how we're going to taste these wines, but let me announce this lineup from east to west.
Yes.
So all the way from Nova Scotia, we're going to start with one of the founder of the appellation, of the Tidal Bay appellation. So one of the sub-appellation, one of the subdivision of the Annapolis Valley, a classified zone in the kind of wine, Tidal Bay. So Domaine des Grands Prés with the Stutz family, established mid-2010. So we're going to taste their Tidal Bay 2022 from Nova Scotia. Wine and winery #1. After that, we're going to move to Ontario, and we're going to introduce Clausen Chase from Prince Edward County. And we have the chance to have Keith Tyre, the winemaker, with us, who's going to talk about what makes Clausen Chase, but what makes Prince Edward County so special. What makes the potential of potential Pinot Noir in Prince Edward County so amazing. One of my top interview that I've done in 3 years is with Keith Tyre. I was about to leave for Singapore, and because we featured Clausen Chase while I was away, so I had to can an interview with him. I swear to God, we talked for an hour and a half, like pretending that we were live, we could have talked for 3 hours. Like, this is one of the most interesting, one of the most genuine, great wine conversation that I ever had. And Keith has agreed to make the trip to Niagara and talk to our crew and talk to our guests about the story, about the wines, and we're going to have a fantastic Pinot Noir from Clausen Chase. After that, we're going to talk about the We're going to talk about Vineland Estate, and the story behind with Brian Schmidt, the vice president, the vigneron, the winemaker, the grower, everything he does for the Ontario wine industry. Brian's going to be on site talking about the story of his family, how they managed, like with the Weiss family, the German family. He brought that very specific home in Ontario, and the whole development of the Ontario wine industry at the very beginning with the Schmidt family and the Weiss family. So I want people to know more about that whole thing. So Brian's going to be with us, and we're going to taste some amazing exclusive Rieslings from Vineland. After that, we're going to have the chance to pick Lou Puglisi's brain. So Lou, who is the owner of Bella Terra Winery. Lou, I want to hear about this story about being a grower for so many, like a son of a Sicilian immigrant who used to be a farmer back in his natal Sicily, and took what his dad taught him and grew grape in Niagara. And finally, after winning the Grape King of Ontario, opened his own winery, partnering up with Marcel Morgenstern, one of the most amazing freaking wine guy in this country. So these guys, so I want to pick Lou's brains about what it takes to open a winery after being a grower for so long, you know? And what's the potential of Cap Franc in Niagara on the Lake? Because we know that Cap Franc raise a lot of questions. Some people say it's the grape of Ontario. There's so many debate about that. So we're gonna taste the 2020 Bella Terra Cap Franc, who made it to my top 10 wine of the year last year. So we're gonna taste that and talking with Lou Puglisi about growing grapes in Niagara on the lake. So this is our 4. Did I miss one? Vineland, Bella Terra, Clausen Chase. Who's the other one?
Leaning Post.
Leading Post. There you go. Wow. And they already posted on their social media the event. By the way, they already did that today. Nadia Senchuk. So, Leading Post from the Lincoln Lake Shore appellation. So Ilya Senchuk is one of the rising stars in the industry. And you know that new movement where, like, if you know about Thomas Batchelder, Kevin Panagatka, Ilya Senchuk, they like to work with single vineyard. They like to do sub-appellation specific single vineyard. So that's a new thing. And I tasted last year, and we visited, Mira and I, the Senchuk Vineyard in the Lincoln Lakeshore appellation, right across the road from the Grimsby Hillside Vineyard, who's a very, very sought-after piece of land. Our kids ran the Senchuk Vineyard back and forth at 42 degrees.
Yes.
losing their shoes as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, Elia and Nadia make some world-class wine, and I want to hear their story. We want to share that with you guys, and we're going to taste the 2019 Senchuk Vineyard Chardonnay. So this is our 4 Ontario winery. Moving to the west, we're going to have with us, traveling with us from Killeden, BC, Rob Hammersley and Michelle Senchuk, owner of Black Market Wine Company in Killeden. Why, Rob?
I think it's Spuchak, I think.
Yeah, that's why you're here. Yes, you're right, Mira. Yes, you're right, Mira.
Say that again.
You're right, Mira.
I love it. Oh, this is
my mouth and my tongue. Like, I've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes, absolutely nonstop. You need to give me a fucking break.
You are fucking awesome. I love it. Okay,
so owner of Black Market Wine Company. Why did we select Rob Hammersley Black Market? Because first, they have 37-year-old Merlot vines on their small Conviction Ridge vineyard in Killeden, BC. They have mature Merlot. Merlot is the most grown grape in the Okanagan, and I want to showcase that quality of Merlot. But I also want to have the voice of the small producer. You know, we have some bigger producer like Vineland. We have Bella Terra's, but like much bigger producer than these small guys who own a 5-acre freaking parcel because that's what they need to get their license, but also produce less than 2,000 cases like every year. So Rob is that the poster child of like a small hardworking farmers who produce small amount of wine but high quality wine. So Rob's going to be traveling with us, telling his story in person. So this is really freaking exciting. So this is one from BC. After that, we're going to have the wine of Richard De Silva at De Silva Vineyard and Winery. First, because it's our BC Winery of the Year. Also, because no one or not a whole lot of people has the knowledge of the Okanagan Valley as Richard De Silva had. His family's been farming the valley for I don't know how many years, but he knows the dirt more than anybody else. I wanted to translate to our people present there the Okanagan in a nutshell. And to me, Richard De Silva is that. And we're going to taste the Chenin Blanc, the 2021, I believe, De Silva Chenin Blanc. And again, we want to showcase the diversity, right? Chenin Blanc, not a whole lot of people grow and produce high quality Chenin Blanc in Canada. And we are going to try that a lot with you in Niagara on the Lake. Also, from BC, we have the other way around, the transfer from Ontario, moving to British Columbia to make big and bold wine. Jeff Undermart's story with Mount Boucherie. Jeff took the wine program at Mount Boucherie to the absolute next level when he moved from Ontario. Extremely talented winemaker working with an incredible portfolio of vineyard. And I mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the rosés. Three main vineyard holding with Mount Boucherie: Okanagan Falls, Similkameen Valley, and West Kelowna. So we're gonna taste the 2019 Original Vines Cabernet Sauvignon. I wanted to showcase Cab Sauv because we can. There's so many people out there say Canada cannot produce big and bold wine. Well, we'll see it with the Merlot from Black Market and with the Original Vines Cabernet Sauvignon from Mount Boucherie, which made my top 10 wine of the year this year. After that, one of the second last is one of the most iconic brand in the country. Painted Rock from John Skinner. When
So
John...
Oh
my God. Oh my God. Like, this guy is an absolute beauty. John Skinner hired the best viticulturist in the world, one of the very best from Bordeaux, Alain Sutra. Alain set up all of John Skinner's vineyard on the Skaha bench. The way everything is set up, like Alain always says, the airflow is the key of what you do. Anyway, there's a whole story behind that we're going to talk about. But Painted Rock, the Icon Red 2019 will be tasted at that tasting as well, with the story of Alain Sutra and John Skinner behind it. So this is for the Okanagan Valley, and also the last and the not the least, our 10th winery was confirmed is from Vancouver Island. Because if we want to go coast to coast, let's finish from all the way in the west. And Vancouver Island is an unknown grape wine producing sub-region. And we have Zach Brown and Alder Leah that we visited, you and me, a couple years ago. And we fell in love with their Bacchus, with the Valerie white blend. Also, the only guy on the island to produce Merlot. Keep that in mind. And we're going to taste is Pinot Gris Skin Contact, the 2022 vintage. Because you know what? In BC, Pinot Gris is the most planted white grape in BC. We're going to tell Zach Brown's story and Alder Leah Vineyard. From coast to coast, we might have an 11 wine because we don't have a bubble yet, and I have a very good idea of what can be a good bubble for this, but I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, that's a new idea. I like it. Yes.
I thought of that today. I thought of that today. I thought of that
I love
today.
when you tell me new ideas when we're live. I do that to you too. It's great.
You're right, babe. So yeah. So here is the Pan Canadian Masterclass. So it took me 30 minutes just to explain the whole freaking thing. So imagine when we're going to be there with all of these people on site, when Ilya Sanchuk, Keith Tired, Brian Schmidt, and Marcel Morton, all of these people will start talking. You guys, as a guest sitting there, it's going to be epic. The conversation that's really gonna but I'm not gonna be allowed to swear, or do I do?
Oh no! All the children.
I know. I'll have to be very. I'll have to be very well behave.
Just kidding. I think you'll get like Carl unplugged, and that's great.
If you're there, it's gonna be fucking epic. I'm telling you, this is a promise.
I agree.
Listen, look at the lineup. There's no other way around.
There's no way.
So yeah, so that's about the August 18.
50 spots.
50 spots. That's it.
That's halfway gone now. So yeah.
Yeah, it's all halfway sold out already.
I'm actually gonna put the link. Okay. Now some of you guys have VIP Plus and Unlimited memberships, so use your special codes to get your membership benefits, your discounts on that. If you're a VIP Plus or Unlimited. If you're not a VIP Plus and Unlimited and you're thinking of coming to this event, this is a good time to upgrade your membership, because VIP Unlimited get 25% off, which works out to $100 if you're a couple. So it's a really good deal if you're thinking of upgrading your membership to do it now. But if you're thinking of
a year of free shipping, plus a year of free shipping.
Well, that's the big thing, is you get a year of free shipping on 6 bottles of more from any producer. So it's pretty
no-brainer. Awesome. No-brainer.
Yes.
Okay.
Carl Boucher. Cheers. I have had too much rosé on a Wednesday night, but it's been fantastic. So thanks you guys so much for stopping by.
There's a few more. There's a few more. Especially we need to dig more into that.
Well, I need to start spitting.
All the notes. I know, Mike. Mike.
All the notes. Yes, all the tasting notes that we have been sitting on like hoarders.
Whoa! I see Chardonnay here. Someone talking Chardonnay. What's that?
That he's promising it to me, Carl, not to you. No, I'm kidding.
Why, you guys need a room or what?
A certain 2016 Chardonnay. So I am assuming this is the Pearl Morissette, Daryl. And I'm glad, because we had the 2017 the other day and we were a little bit concerned. You
know what? I think, you know what? I'm going to guess. And I think that Daryl he doesn't think about Pearl Morissette. I believe that Daryl thinks Westcott 2016.
Ooh, okay.
That's what I'm thinking here.
Okay.
We'll see.
The Pearl Morissette, we were quite concerned with the 17 the other day. We have to wait till my birthday when we were planning to open.
Carl is wrong.
Okay, well.
Okay, well.
First time.
Well, I haven't been right a whole lot today there. I'll tell you one thing. So just the trend keeps going. Okay. Yeah,
that's what Mike thought too, but I think it's not.
Mike, don't just a tip for everyone: just don't follow my thought today, because I have not been right once. So
it's been a tough night. We'll make that better.
Nah, you know what? I feel good about it. I feel good about our show, Mira Boucher. It was absolutely fantastic. Fun. Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, you guys have a great rest of your evening. Cheers.
Cheers.